Hey, folks, welcome to the BeyondTheBaselines.com podcast. My name's Ed Shanafi. I'm your host here. I have been for the last 6 years. And this year, as I have been interviewing people, the idea of mentoring your staff, advancing your staff, moving your staff forward has become a major topic. And my my several guests recently have all touched on that. And what I wanted to talk about today was management style. And we've all heard about it. We've all heard about micromanaging, micromanagers, micromanaging, micromanagement, and how we can avoid that in our leadership roles and how we can better delegate. And I was just going to use a few examples that have come up through the podcast over the last couple of weeks. One was from Max up there at Montami Golf Club. He has created an idea where he's going to put four different restaurant leaders in his four outlets. Instead of having one executive chef, he's going to have four mini executive chefs who gain more of that responsibility for that outlet. Whereas the executive chef, and I know this, having worked at big clubs like Orchid Island and Jupiter Island, that executive chef has his hands on or her hands on each outlet. This time under Max, the outlets are going to have their own mini executive chef. And I think that's another way of mentoring somebody, just handing them the responsibility. For me personally, this summer, I allowed I gave her a new title, Alejandra Martinez. She's from South Florida. In the winter, she's down in Deerfield Beach, but up in the summer, she's with me, and this was her second summer, and she'd been head professional. And I wanted to make her role a little more special because she's trying to reach out and do more event style marketing. And so we split up the calendar this year. And even though I was on property, I let her run the ladies member guest, which is probably our biggest event. And she had the flights. I let her run the Dyer Cup, which is a traditional tournament compass draw, which is something you have to learn as a pro, as a director of tennis. And she ran it. And yeah, a couple times during the day she came into my desk, but I actually sat at my desk and watched a little bit of tennis, but really took a step back. And it's so difficult to do because, as you know, the membership knows you're not looking at that detail of that event, and they kind of expect you to, but you've got to hand some stuff off to keep your profession, my profession, club management going forward. So as you're doing your events, as you're planning your calendar this year, think about what can you delegate on those events. Day to day, it's harder. Day to day, things that come across my desk, and darn well, I know that it should go back to the front desk. Somebody comes up and says, "Hey Ed, I got a $25 charge on my bill. Can we look at that?" Well, that should go to the front desk. That shouldn't be at the CEO's role or the director of rackets role unless it's passed by the front desk and there's still a question. Um, Day to day reservations, how we're going to get that ten top in, that should go to your restaurant manager, not go to the executive chef, not go to the GM. And we in those leadership roles need to realize that instead of just shooting from the hip and doing it, saying, "Hey, wait a minute, we can learn something from this episode. Let's push this back." And yeah, you can supervise the answer, but we need to realize that delegating is possible if we're going to grow. And it's just a thought I've had over the last few podcasts we've had. And I've had this one out here now because coming up are several great guests, including Max from Montami. And soon to come after that will be several other leadership positions. And we're going to talk about mentoring and developing your staff.